The highest binge I've ever documented was in like maybe 3/4 of a day was about 16,000 calories.
Wow.
Welcome back to Other People's Lives. I'm Joe Santagato.
I'm Greg Dybec.
For anyone out there that would like to be a guest on our show, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our email is oplpodcast@gmail.com. Just send us your story and we'll get back to you.
Today, we are speaking with a woman who experiences binge eating at the most extreme level. This is to the point that no doctor, therapist, or medical professional has been able to help her or figure out why she isn't able to stop eating and gaining weight. And on top of that, she was a personal trainer at a gym before she started binge eating. So she's here today to talk openly and honestly about her journey and her struggle with this disorder. So first of all, thank you so much for reaching out to us and coming on the show today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned in the intro, you told us in the email that you worked as a personal trainer at a gym, that you were fit, that you know more about nutrition, weight training, and cardio than the average person. So to start, can you talk a bit about that period of your life to help sort of paint the picture of the lifestyle that you lived prior to your struggle with binge eating?
Yeah, of course. Actually, that was the happiest time of my life. So I worked as a trainer at a commercial gym for, I think it was 4 years. I looked fantastic. I had one of those Instagram fitness model kind of bodies. Like I looked amazing. I ate, I tracked my calories, my macros, everything. I ate every day. I worked out like 4 to 5 times a week. Got my cardio in, etc. I had a lot of clients looking up to me. I helped a lot of clients lose weight, even clients who had binge eating disorder. So I that was really the best job I ever had, and it was a lot of fun. And I thought that was my my thing, my passion, and now I ended up here gaining from that point. I've now gained about 50 kilos, which I think is about 100 pounds.
Wow. So how and what was the amount of time again?
Since COVID hit, because when COVID hit, our gym had to close down because, for obvious reasons. And that kind of took away my whole life's meaning. It just went downhill from there.
So what was kind of the reason why, when gyms started to open up and everything, like it, you felt like you couldn't get back into that routine?
At that point, it had become such a habit. It's crazy how quickly habits form. And also at that point, I had already gained some weight. And because I was so obsessed with the way I look at my body, I was ashamed to go back to the gym that I worked at. I didn't want anyone to see even the small amount of weight I gained back then.
So can you also, I guess, just give us a definition of what binge eating is? And during this time, COVID hits, gyms closed down. When did you start to realize that you were forming this habit of binge eating?
Gladly. So I want to make a big differentiation between binge eating and overeating. So every normal person who has not had or doesn't have an eating disorder, etc., has overate at some point, right? So if your grandma made you your favorite lasagna and you ate another portion because it tastes so good, even though you're full, that's just overeating. Every once in a while, that's completely normal in a normal diet. That is not binge eating. Binge eating for some is eating so much that you are physically hurting, that you can't even move. Some people will go so far as just eat dry oats because it's not about the taste. It's just about consuming as much food as quickly as possible. In Germany, we have a word, it's called Heißhunger, which I find really, really fitting. So translated, it's called hot hunger. And for me personally, when I get a craving, a binge craving, it's like this heat that spreads from my chest into my entire body, and it won't stop until I fulfill that need to binge eat. And it's crazy how physical it gets. So the definition of binge eating is just eating ridiculously large amounts of food in a very short time frame. Yeah.
Okay.
And how much, like, what's like a ridiculous amount? Like, do you measure that in calories or just like the amount of like full meals you're having a day?
Well, it can be volume wise. So I know some people who have dealt or are dealing with binge eating, and they are trying to get over it by just binging on like low calorie, high volume foods, like multiple heads of broccoli, right? But it can also just be calorie wise. Like for me, an example, the highest binge I ever documented. That doesn't mean it's the highest binge I ever had because I tend to not document them because, yeah, it's not a great feeling. But the highest binge I've ever documented was in like half a day, maybe 3/4 of a day, was about 16,000 calories.
Wow.
16,000. What did you eat to reach 16,000?
Yeah, a lot of junk food. Like it is insane. It's insane how much food I am able to eat if I want to. And after that, I was in so much physical pain. I could barely breathe because my stomach was so full. It was incredible.
Yeah, I imagine it truly is painful after the fact, which I guess just kind of speaks to that compulsion where the result and outcome isn't a pleasurable feeling, but it's just the act of doing it that I guess gives you that pleasure in the moment.
Yeah. And as I said, for me personally, again, I don't want to speak for everyone who has this issue because I know, as I said, I personally am an extreme binge eater, and my background is a bit different than a lot of others. But for me personally, I don't emotional binge, which a lot of people do. So instead of having a glass of wine when you're really happy or really sad, etc., some people binge eat. Which I don't do. For me, it doesn't matter what mood I am. It's very much a habit that I've built up that I have not been able to get away from.
Okay. What's interesting, you use the word habit. It's just such a stark difference from the lifestyle that you were living, and kind of understanding that gym culture, that workout routine, that's all based on habit essentially to get to that point. So do you remember the point that, you kind of traded one habit for the other? Like, what is that sort of transition period? Because as someone who is slightly obsessed with working out and going to the gym, like a lot of people are, it's just hard to imagine, like, where does that change happen where you go from working out 5 to 6 times a week to being able to eat 16,000 calories in a day?
Mm-hmm. So one thing I do want to say is that I still work out at least 3 times a week. I still get my 10K steps a day. I'm going to say at least 70% of the week I eat in a healthy way within my calories. So it's not that I completely lost the healthy habits. It's just I gained a really bad new one.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's because when COVID hit, I just moved back to Germany from studying abroad, and I had no one here. I only had the gym and my colleagues, and when that closed down, I was all alone in an apartment, no family, no friends. I just got into a really depressive cycle and started eating like shit, a lot of it.
And how do you kind of combat that? I mean, the fact that you are so like self-aware about it, like how are you kind of, trying to fight against this feeling that almost feels like, it's kind of like overbearing?
That's a good question. As I stated in my email, I have tried many things. So I've been to different therapists. I've tried different kinds of therapies. I've been on different kinds of medication. I even was in a psych ward, in an eating disorder psych ward. And so far, nothing has helped. So right now, I don't have an answer for that, sadly.
Well, yeah, I guess just, I guess my question, you kind of answered it, was just kind of like, what steps did you kind of take along the way to try and fight against this? And I guess at this moment, based upon what you just said, it just kind of feels like you're sort of, you don't know how to kind of fix it or go about it.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if you guys know this. So most people who suffer from eating disorders generally, the highest percentage of those people are binge eaters. So binge eating is crazy. It has, sadly, a lot of people have binge eating, like a crazy amount. But yet here in Germany, it isn't really seen as an eating disorder yet. There aren't really treatments, and it's not being taken so seriously. So there isn't that much information to go off on. So what I did was look into Instagram, because obviously there are a lot of people there who talk about eating disorders, and there are a lot of people who talk about binge eating and how they got out of it. Ironically, a lot of them used to be avid gym goers, like gym girlies, like I was. And that I don't know why. But yeah, they give recommendations. They tell people what helped them. It's for example, stop tracking calories, eat whatever you want, all that jazz. But yeah, that hasn't worked for me either. So I'm trying to find people who have experience and also go the medical route, but so far nothing has helped. And yeah.
Do you think that gym workout culture contributed to this at all? Because that's interesting that you say so many people that you found in your position lived a similar lifestyle. And I know that general idea of things like extreme dieting can have negative effects and I guess potentially spill over into eating disorders. Do you believe that there's a thread between the two?
100%. For me, at least, I'm not like, I am very pro gym. I love going to gym. I love working out. I think everyone should do it. But the level of obsessiveness that some people get, like me, that was my whole day revolved around going to the gym, working out, having that six pack, having a great butt, etc. Right. So when you get so obsessive with it that after a few bad weeks, you gain a few pounds and you can't go back to gym because you feel so awful about yourself. That's not healthy. And the way that I see myself and my body right now is with such unbelievable disgust. Like I cannot look in the mirror. It's really bad. I really hate myself. And I think that comes from the mentality of working at a gym and knowing what I looked like and what I should look like. And yeah, I do believe that it can be very toxic.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's, like Greg said, directly sort of contributing to, things like this. But yeah, I mean, do you have like, where are you at kind of in this journey? Like, as far as, this whole thing, like, do you have are you optimistic about the future? Do you think that, you're just going to put your head down and sort of work towards this every day and hopefully, things will change?
That's a difficult question because I have a pretty good life. I have a good job. I have a great apartment, dog, family, etc. And the only thing that is making me unhappy on a daily basis is this illness. And at this point, I don't know what more to do, because if a psych ward kicks you out because they can't help you anymore, it feels really hopeless. And being this fat is such an awful feeling. Like just that in of itself is horrible. The day-to-day happenings of having to carry a fat body around, an obese body around, I might add, is for most people that would be enough to want to lose weight. But yeah, I don't know. The eating disorder is stronger than me, I guess.
That's an interesting point to bring up, because in a way you've lived life in two very different body types. And I imagine that the experiences are very different. I guess, how has going from fit to obese, changed your perspective in any way?
So honestly, I've had multiple eating disorders. I've had anorexia, orthorexia, bulimia, and binge eating. And of all of them, I would say binge eating is the worst, just alone because of how society treats me. Right. So when I go into the city and some random stranger starts mooing at me because I'm as fat as a cow, that's not fun. And the day-to-day societal views on obese people it's really hard, and it does not help in my weight loss journey, if I may say so. And just like I go for 2-hour walks with my dog every day, and it's ridiculous how sweaty I am. It's the small things. Like I sweat like a motherfucker, if I'm allowed to swear. And it's the small things that I didn't experience before. When I was fit, I never had to think twice about people looking at me in a disgusted way, in a negative light. So most of it is bad because of how society treats you, I have to say.
And, do you think that could be because like there's not enough sort of awareness or education around this being an actual sort of illness? Because I think that a lot of people are probably just thinking like, oh, you've just made choices and have gotten yourself here and you just continue to indulge in whatever, just kind of completely dismissing the fact that there is an actual illness attached to this thing, which you said a lot of people sort of suffer from. So, I mean, do you think it's just like a lack of education or just like a lack of empathy from people?
That's a good question. So I do think that not enough people know about binge eating or don't take it serious. So I'm very open with my binge eating disorder, right? So I tell anyone who asks, honestly, about it, because I just think it's a topic that needs to be discussed more. And a lot of the times it's crazy to the reactions you get. It's just the reaction, just eat less. That's a reaction you get because people can't wrap their mind around that there are other eating disorders than anorexia and bulimia. There are eating disorders that make you overweight. And that to them is so disgusting because fat and obese bodies are just, not accepted by society. And this is not me plugging for obesity to be normalized, right? So as I said in the email, I am against the body positivity side of glorifying obesity. Obesity is not healthy, and I'm not trying to normalize it, but I do think we need to be treated like people. That'd be nice.
Yeah, of course. Especially because, I mean, there are some people that, who do disregard their health and just eat whatever they want. They just don't really think about that. But there is a portion of society that is dealing with various different illnesses, whether they are physical or mental. And that's what's contributing to their obesity. So you never really know. But for society, it's easier to just be like, oh, that person got them there and, blah, blah, blah. And that's not exclusive to this either, like even, a lot of the country deals with anxiety and depression. Well, our country deals with anxiety and depression. And, people who don't deal with those things, it's kind of like, well, what do you have to worry about? Your life's great. You don't have to be anxious. That's like their answer, So I think it is like just like a lack of education and, we appreciate you coming on the show and even talking about this because maybe this is something that someone who's listening never even heard of. And now they have a different perspective of like, no, there is an actual illness attached to this thing. So when you're making judgments about people that you can just see and not talk to, you might want to second guess doing that because there may be a little more to, the situation. And after talking to you, obviously you're just like, I don't want to be this way and I'm trying and, but I'm suffering from this thing. And you did say, in your email and also on the podcast that you dealt with various different eating disorders. Has this kind of been a constant in your life or was there a point where these things started happening?
So basically all of my life, I've definitely had disordered eating habits. And I think when I was, 17, I actually had an eating disorder. I started with anorexia. So I'm just going to go over it very quickly because it's a bit boring. But when I was up until I was 17, I was a hefty child. Let's put it that way. I was bigger. I wasn't obese, but I was fat. And then I was. My family told me to get an operation. What are they called in English? A weight loss operation, basically.
Is it liposuction?
No, so it's like a balloon that goes into your stomach, so that less food can go into your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't work because I didn't know anything about nutrition. So I still ate bad, just less volume, but still the same amount of calories. And when that didn't work, I realized, hey, if I just eat almost no calories, that'll work, which led to anorexia pretty quickly. I'm not going to name the amount of calories I ate in a day just because I don't want anyone to get a wrong idea, but it was not sustainable for even a small dog in a day. So that escalated pretty quickly and I lost a lot of weight. So nobody actually knew I had anorexia because when a fat person loses weight, you just congratulate them, right? You don't ask if there's maybe an illness. After that, I developed orthorexia, which is basically just eating quote unquote healthy foods. So it had to be clean. It couldn't have more than 3 ingredients. It had to be raw, so very limited. After that, I started having binge cravings because I was restricting myself so badly that I couldn't take it anymore. And that's when I started having some binges, which I then purged with working out. So that's when I started having bulimia. So instead of making myself throw up, I just worked out until I couldn't anymore, until I was half dead to burn the calories that I had eaten in a binge beforehand. And now it's just binge eating.
And, have you been to the doctor? Are there actual serious health ramifications that you're kind of suffering from because of this illness?
At the moment, since I am quite active and I do eat, I'm going to say healthily most of the time, I don't have any health issues yet. I do have issues. For example, my feet hurt when I walk for long, right? It's so stupid. I get so angry at myself every time my stupid feet hurt after walking for just 2 hours. I get headaches when I don't eat sugar for a while because I have formed such a dependency on sugar. So it's small things that would go away quickly when I lose the weight, but my blood sugar level is still okay because I do keep active and I try to eat nutritionally well most of the time. But if I continue this way, right, if I keep gaining weight, I will do things to my body that can never be undone. I will never be healthy again. And that at my age, 26, is really, really scary, that in 2 years I could be immobile.
Wow. Well, we really hope that you don't give up on this journey. We can, understand how frustrating it is because you haven't given up to this point and you've tried so many different things. And I'm sure it's tough not being able to get answers or get help. But, we obviously hope that you stick with this. And in your email, there's a really powerful line you wrote. Long story short, my one goal in life at the moment is to lose weight and my own stupid brain won't let me. And I think that really does sum it up because it, again, like Joe said before, just the self-awareness that you have, the desire that you have to lose this weight, to be healthy, but just that inability to do it because of this disorder is really powerful. And I think really will give a lot of people listening and watching, perspective on this disorder. And like we mentioned before, just it's easy to see someone who might be overweight, obese, and just think, well, they gave up a long time ago. They don't care about their bodies. But this perspective makes us realize that's not always going to be the case. And people are really struggling with things like binge eating. So we just really appreciate the honesty. Like I said up top, just, reaching out to us to share this story and just talk about this disorder because you feel like it's not, understood and talked about enough. We, really, really thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for having me and listening to me. And if I may plug something here, it's not me.
No, absolutely. Plug whatever you want.
Anything. Yeah.
For anyone out there who does not have a history with eating disorders, but wants to lose weight in a neutral and healthy way, right? No fad diets, no guilt tripping or whatever. There is a group on Facebook called Lose Weight, Eat Pizza. It sounds weird, but they are an amazing community that are very back to the roots of just the math of how to lose weight, what to do, how to eat enough to sustainably do this, to eat what you enjoy, not restrict yourself, right? So if anyone needs some place to actually find good information that won't fuck you up, check that group out. It's not mine, sadly. I wish I had the idea, but it's a fantastic community.
Amazing. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on and kind of shedding light on this, because like I was saying earlier, I think that a lot of people are sort of uneducated about this, and it's easier to make assumptions about people instead of, considering that there might be something else, going on with a person. So it's never the right thing to just judge without knowing the full story. And, I think that a lot of people sort of deal with this sort of thing. And, it just, you being on the podcast, I think contributes to the awareness of it. And that can only have positive changes in our society. So we appreciate you coming on.
And I appreciate you having me. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
No, of course. And good luck with everything. And thank you.
All right. Thanks. Have a lovely rest of your day.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, before we get to our final thoughts, we do have a sponsor for today, which is Vessi. Vessi makes a shoe called the Cloudburst that is the best shoe maybe to have ever. All the features of a rubber winter boot right into a sneaker. I don't know how they do it. It is 100% waterproof, not water resistant, waterproof. So they're waterproof and they're warm and they're kind of stylish, okay? And honestly, it's not just good for the winter. It's good in the winter, obviously, but you never know when it's gonna rain. And then you have shoes that are just wet and they're not comfortable. These shoes, any weather, you can be prepared. You will be totally fine. There's an extra lining for extra warmth as well. So you're good in any conditions. They're made with a material called Dybec, which is going to keep your foot warm in the winter, but also cooler in the summer months. So it's a dynamic shoe. Go get yourself a pair at vessi.com/OPL, and that will get you 15% off your entire order plus free shipping. Okay, that is vessi.com/OPL, and you will get 15% off your entire order. Definitely go get a pair of these, folks. You're gonna wanna get them. That is a very scary thing to kind of deal with, when you really consider, when you compare it to something like addiction almost, which it feels similar in certain ways, where it just kind of feels like it's, I don't want to do this. I feels like I have to. My brain is my body's telling me that I have to keep doing this or whatever. And it's only damaging. And I know how damaging it is. And when she was talking about in 2 years, I could be immobile, that's terrifying to feel like I'm losing to this thing and no one can help me. And I'm slowly just doing it to myself. That's wild.
Yeah. Hearing that almost made me feel claustrophobic in a weird way, because it's almost like she's trapped in her own body, in her own mind. And yeah, it's just really scary to have that type of self-awareness and that desire to want to lose weight. Like, this is my goal. I'm going to put all of my energy and effort to accomplish this thing. And I can't, like, I just can't, because no matter what I do, I'm going to have a 16,000 calorie day, or I cannot control this compulsion. So yeah, really scary to hear, but, you know, really insightful, you know, to hear about her journey too. And it's awesome, honestly, that she's, you know, using this experience, which is clearly such a struggle for her, to, you know, still think about others and share this story and get the word out on binge eating. So, you know, really commend her for that.
Yeah, especially something that, you know, is pretty prevalent, you know. Like, I wonder, like, our country has a very high obese rate compared to the rest of the world, and I wonder how many of those are sort of dealing with something like this. Like, I'm sure there is a percentage of people that are just, you know, like I said, don't really care about their health or, you know, their body image or whatever it is, and, you know, that's the case. But a lot of people, they don't want that, and they're just suffering from something. So just more awareness about that, I think, is like helpful, and not just looking at people who are overweight and going like, you're lazy or you're fucking whatever, irresponsible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we appreciate her coming on and talking to us about this. But yeah, if you're out there and you want to be on our show, definitely hit us up. Our email is oplpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your story, and we will get back to you.
Yeah, if it's a fit, we'll reach out. So send away. There's no harm in sending an email. And follow us on Instagram, TikTok at OPL Podcast. You could head over to patreon.com/OPL show. And as you know, we use that money to make frequent donations throughout the year. So if you want to be part of that and help out, then head over to Patreon. And that is all for this week.
Yep. See you guys next time.